Today's episode is a deep one. I sat down with Jeremy B. Hill, a father of 3, a husband of nearly 30 years, and a man who has led in boardrooms and living rooms alike. We talked about changes when your kids become adults, how to lead with influence instead of authority, and how faith, fitness, and discipline are essential for showing up as a man your family needs. If you're a father looking to raise standards, deepen your relationships, and build a lasting legacy, this conversation is for you.
Don't move. Keep it locked. You already know. You're listening to the Fit Fatherhood Podcast. And we're having conversations with dope dads covering the 4 pillars of fatherhood. We call it the Fit Fatherhood Formula. Faith, family, finance, and fitness. That's right. These dads are setting the pace in business and fatherhood. This show isn't only about the outside success. We're getting down to who you are. Gentlemen, it's time to get fit. And now, let's get into the show.
All right. Welcome back to the Fit Fatherhood Podcast, a podcast for fathers by fathers, where we talk about the 4 pillars of fatherhood, which are faith, family, finance, and fitness. And I'm excited, man. You know what? These things have been kind of lining up, just wonderful guest after wonderful guest. Like I appreciate anybody's time that takes it, because I understand how important time is, especially as men and as leaders, as fathers. Our time is stretched super thin. So anytime anyone wants to take some time out to come and share with me, I'm super appreciative. But this last kind of slew of guests have been just phenomenal, man. Like I've been like a listener to the podcast. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I listen to it to do editing, but I've been listening like, oh man, let me write that down. Let me make sure I get that. Let me make sure I use that. And I'm sure today will be no different. My guest today is Jeremy Hill. Jeremy, how you doing today, brother?
I'm good, brother. Thanks for having me, man. Looking forward to sharing some time.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well, man, because usually I'm kind of outsourcing content or trying to find stuff, and that's a lot of work, trying to find the right persons, the right people to bring onto the podcast, the right content to share on social media. But it's always nice to have someone that just really aligns with what you're doing, and have that person kind of find you. And you have the opportunity to, and it's funny, sometimes I say it like that way. I think all of the content is kind of finding me, right? Like, it just, I don't know what the algorithm or God or whatever is just putting this stuff in my way or putting it in my path, and it becomes a part of the path. And I'm excited to have you as a part of the journey. But now that I have you, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I think, when most people ask that question, it's like, man, tell me a little bit about yourself. Most people say what it is that they do for a living. I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a ditch digger, I'm a plumber, I'm a whatever it is that you do. And I think that that's a shame. It becomes a habit, but what it is that you do for a living doesn't define who it is that you are. And so for me, I like what it is that I do, but who it is that I am as, Jeremy or JB, right? I wish it meant James Bond. It doesn't. I'm trying to get that going, but but for me, let me say, I just turned 50 years old. Been with my wife a little bit better than 30 years. We have our 29th wedding anniversary coming up. We got 3 awesome kids. Let me say a boy, girl, boy, 24, 21, 18. So I got 3 kids. I got a fucking smoking wife. I got a cool dog. Kind of a weird family, just like the rest of us, but working on things and just kind of enjoying the journey of where it is that our family is growing in this kind of next chapter of life, and what it avails and kind of, puts in front of us to kind of learn and grow and observe and all these kinds of things. It's just, new chapters in life, right? It's different now than when they were young and when they were teenagers, and now where it is that they are. And so you got to kind of up your father game, as you go. And so it's that's been a good experience.
Yeah, I think you pointed out something that's really important, and I think we all get caught up doing it. And I know that I used to do it, and I'm better at it now. Is this when people do ask you, about yourself, the first thing you say is what you do, right? Like you said, I'm a I'm a builder, I'm a baker, I'm a candlestick maker, like whatever it is, and that's what we assign our identity to. But we are so much more, or we should be, or could be so much more than what we do to pay bills. I think we put ourselves in a box as a provider, and so we really hold on to what it is that we do to provide, because that's what we take our pride in. But man, there's so much more to us. Like we're so much more than just what we do. So I'm glad you said that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So look, I'm on the, I guess I'm not on the youngest side of the spectrum. My kids are 12, they will be 13 in August, and 11 in October. And so I'm still on the young end of it,
Well,
but
you're in the thick of it still, right?
but so as you've kind of experienced the whole spectrum, well, I mean there's still some room to grow, right? But
Sure.
you've experienced the kid parts of it. Um how is it different now that you have adult children than it was? I'm always curious because I'm in the middle of the kid phase, but I know that this transition is coming and they're going to get older and the years just fly. Like before, I was just looking at pictures of my oldest daughter when she was like 6 months, and I'm like, man, she's about to be a teenager.
Yeah.
So I know time flies. So what is the biggest difference you see now that your children are adults versus when they were younger?
It's you got to up your parent game, and my wife and I talk about this because when they're younger, because I said so, right? That works. When they get older, it's like, no, that doesn't work anymore. We'll go to your room. Damn, they don't live at home anymore. That doesn't work either. Right? And so this evolution, I think, of leadership as a father changes some because it becomes less as they get older. You're still dad, but you're also a person, right? And so one of the things it is that unconsciously my wife and I have done extraordinarily well is get to know Joshua, Kaylin, and Tristan, my kids, right? Is get to know Joshua as the individual, not just Joshua as my son. Right? Like everybody talks about this on the fact that how can you have 2 children or 3 children or 4 children, or however many kids it is that you have? You raise them in the same household, you have the same values, you have the same morals, you feed them the same dinner. But God, my kids are just different, dude. Like, how is that? Well, it's because they're individuals. And I think a lot of times what ends up happening is that we paint everything with a broad brush for discipline, for expectations, for standards. Those things kind of are a broad brush, but how it is that they apply and how it is that I practice, teach, lead, and love Joshua is different than I do Kaylin, and is different than I do Tristan, because they're all different personalities. And I think as the kids are younger, you can get away with more of just kind of a set thing, and here's how it works, and because I said so, and go to your room, and that kind of thing. As they get a little bit older, you realize that their individual personalities, you definitely don't change the standards for the house, but you maybe change how it is that you explain it. You change a little bit of the ingredients to make sure that you're matching the standard, but Joshua's going to understand it and interpret it and react to things different than my daughter, than my youngest son. And I think that's one of the things as the kids have gotten older that we've gotten really good at, having small tweaks that make sure it is that each one of them understand. Like the standard itself doesn't change. The rules for the house, the expectations it is that we have for ourselves, for our family, for each other, like that doesn't change, but just maybe a little twist on the ingredient it is that makes it different. So each one, so it just kind of resonates with them a little bit better and a little bit more personal, individual to the child. Like that's just stuff it is that we just learned over time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is that something that you guys kind of implemented early, or is it something that just through the
No.
process of parenting, you just kind of figured, hey, this isn't working for Joshua the way it was working and then you just kind of.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things it is that consistently it is that we get is like, I've never met another family like yours. Like I've never met a dynamic with husband and wife and children and feel like I've never met another one. And whereas that's an extraordinary compliment, and I don't take it as any other way. It's also because, my wife and I have been together 30 years, right? Like we've been raising kids for almost 25 years, which means we've got about 20 years experience of screwing shit up, right? Like we've already figured out all the bad stuff, right? Like we've already figured out what doesn't work, right? And so because of which, then you start getting a little bit smarter over time, right? Like if I'm still having the same argument with my son or my daughter or my wife as a husband and a leader and a father, if I'm having the same thing over and over and over and over again, it's not their fault. It's my fault because I'm not changing the way it is that I'm kind of leading and loving and guiding through these decisions to help them interpret. If we keep going round and round and round about the same thing, about the same thing, about the same thing, about the same thing, it's not on them, it's on me. And so I think ultimately, we all hope it is that we're getting smarter over time, me included. right? Is that you figure out those things it is that work by honestly figuring out all the shit it is that doesn't work. I've done this 20 times and it always causes a fight. Well, ultimately, hopefully I'm smarter. Maybe I'm going to get a little bit better at that. And I think we've gotten better at that so much to the fact now that like our family dynamic and family unit's pretty strong, man.
Nice. You know what? Something that I heard you kind of say, and maybe it's just because I've heard it in the last few episodes, I've heard guys kind of allude to or point out directly, like as your children get older, because I've had the privilege of having some guys that have older children these last few episodes, and as your children get older, you kind of shift from authority to influence, right? Like when they're young, you can kind of say, "Hey, this is it," right? Like you talked about, this is because I said so, right? And that's an authority thing. Like this is the rule because I said so. But then as they get older, that because I said so or go to your room, it doesn't have as much impact because it just doesn't, right? They just go to my room. Okay, cool. I got all the stuff I want in my room anyway. Like bye, peace.
Exactly. I got a TV, air conditioner, Xbox. I got a phone. Yeah, he's being punished. Like,
yeah. No, cool. I'll see you at dinner time because you're still gonna feed me, right? But what I've heard or what I've learned from the last couple of guys is that as they get older, how you've shown up, how you've interacted, the relationship that you've built, the way that you've communicated has gained you a certain amount of influence that lasts when authority is no longer as impactful, right? It's more like not what can I do, but what should I do based on what dad has taught me. You know what I mean? What do you think about that? Is that pretty accurate?
I think that's very well articulated, right? Is that, your influence takes over where authority leaps off, right? And so, there's that thing of, in my house and my rules and whatever all the old movies it is that we see where dad said that, and we're sitting there looking at that going, God, that's stupid. That's never going to work,
Yeah.
But the reality is that there is some of that as they get older, is that you are ruling by authority, whatever that means, right? But as they get older, kind of like we talk about you got to kind of up your parent game, and you up your parent game by having relationship with your kids, right? By having influence over them. Your degree of influence and your connectiveness in that relationship really is I think, again, going back to kind of understanding your children as not only your son or your daughter, but as an individual, right? That just like you and I as fathers, we have our own shortcomings, we have our own strengths, we have our own weaknesses, our own anxieties and insecurities and all those kinds of things. It is, right? Well, so do they.
Yeah.
Right. And my sons are different than my daughters, different than my youngest sons, right? And my degree of influence for them and how it is that I both lead them through decisions and love them along the way, a lot of that is really going to be on the fact that is of, do they listen, right? Because if they don't listen, I can't influence, and they're not going to listen if they're not in a situation to where they feel heard or seen. And so they're going to feel heard or seen by seeing them as individuals, not just son, daughter, youngest, oldest, blah, blah, blah. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah. I was reading, I can't think of the name of the book. This is a while ago, but just as my oldest daughter was we've always kind of taught them or encouraged them to advocate for themselves or to have a voice, right? Sure. And we teach them that their voice is important and that it matters. Not that it's going to change necessarily the rules, but we do want to give you the opportunity to share your opinion, and then we'll go from there. But what I was reading was like, a lot of times we communicate and it's a one-way highway. Like we are just saying it and hoping that it's interpreted. And a conversation isn't a conversation unless what you say is understood by the person you're saying it to. And I think a lot of times as when we're in that authoritative mode, we're just barking orders and we're just saying things and we're not really paying attention to how they're interpreted, or if we're having to say it over and over and over again because what we're saying just isn't clicking for that kid, right? It just the words just don't make sense. Like, because I know my youngest daughter is very, very she is not literal, but like if you say something to her, she thinks about it. And it's like, it doesn't make sense. Are you sure that's what you're saying? Like that you want me to do what? And it almost feels sometimes like she's being, if I weren't me and she wasn't her, it could sound like disrespect. right? Like she's questioning me or whatever. But like, I'm like, oh man, maybe I didn't say that the way that I thought. Like in my head, it sounded like
Right.
this was being said, and you interpreted it as okay, cool, thank you. Still, you're going to do what I was saying, but just now that we understand how you understand it, let me say it a little differently. Now go clean your room, right? Like
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And I'm learning and it's helped. I say this all the time. Having kids has made me a better husband because learning that part of conversation because of trying to communicate better with my daughters has allowed me to communicate better with my wife as well. And like, I don't think we look at leadership in that way. A lot of times even when we look at movies or TV shows, we see like the general, the captain, the leader. We don't see the compassionate side of them. We see them barking orders. We see them like sacrifice themselves for the rest of the group, but we don't see like the connection that they're making with that group. And I think that's why people follow people, right? Is like because there is a connection there, that there is some reciprocity that's there that they're getting. And I think I'm realizing now as we're starting to get to where my daughter wants to hang out with her friends or she wants to go to the mall, or like my influence better start kicking up, right?
Right.
because my don't do that is only going to go so far when she can't hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's, and daughters and sons are different, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you as a father, I worry about my sons different than I worry about my daughter. Like for my daughter, if I could put a chip in her neck and bubble wrap her, I would. Right? Like I haven't figured out a way to do that while she's sleeping without waking her up.
Yeah.
But right, like I'm
Yeah.
still working on it.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
just, as dads, you worry about daughters differently.
Yeah.
You have different fears, you have different anxieties.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the girlfriends it is that they're hanging out with and what kind of girls are there and in their ear and their friendships and I think girls as they're growing up, that kind of middle school, high school age, it is for girls like if they're not with the right association, man, it can like really, really bust up their self-image
Mm-hmm.
and make some kind of poor decisions there. Like and you even see that as women kind of get older and stuff like that and get involved. And, there's things it is that my wife and I had as kind of not rules, but guidelines and kind of expectations it is for us as she was home with the kids about who her association was, just because I didn't want her around the wrong women, right? I just
Mm-hmm.
don't want that in her ear. I want to be able to protect her just like I want to be able to protect my daughter, right? You have these fears for your daughter. It is about their association. You have the fears for, what kind of man it is that they're going to marry, what kind of guys it is that they're going to date, and just all those things. Again, bubble wrap, chip in her neck, track
Yeah.
her, follow her everywhere she goes. No, you can't do that, but you love them and worry about them differently than you do your boys. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it's like to have sons. I feel like my friends that have sons let them run wild. They're just like wild animals. They're like cats, like when you have a cat, you just let it outside and it goes and does whatever and then comes back.
exactly, hungry. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I
Exactly.
feel like I feel like that's how they treat their sons, and I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I can't. I am getting better at like, okay, you guys can go do this, and I trust that we've done a good job up to this point to teach you certain things, right?
Right.
And so I'm kind of loosening the lead, not taking it off completely, but loosening it up a little bit and kind of letting them start to explore and do some different things, like go, like I said, go to the mall, like because that used to be a thing where like, oh, you want to go to the mall? Okay, we'll pick your friends up and we'll all go to the mall together. And
Right.
now I'm walking with these little kids around the mall holding bags or whatever. Now I'm like, all right, what time you guys got to be there? All right, cool. I'll drop you off. I'll be back. Call me when you're ready to get picked up.
Right.
And I'm feeling less and less anxiety. not,
Okay. Good.
not that it's completely gone. Not that I don't want to just sit in the parking lot just in case something happens, but or I'm hiding behind like a clothes rack, like looking
Right.
around. But
Exactly.
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But I am leaning, like I said, leaning on growing myself as their father and as their leader. Like, okay, this is the test of if you've done a good job up to this point. Because I always feel like I won't really know if I've done a good job as a father until my kids are adults and they have children. You know what I mean? Because then I can kind of see the full spectrum of my parenting. Um, but I got to start testing it now, right? Like I can't hold their hand forever, and it's hard for sure. It's hard.
So, but if you're to that point to where it is that you're starting to give them a little bit of slack and a little bit more of a leash, it is as they go out to the mall by themselves. And you said they're what, 12 and 11?
12 and 10 will
12 and
be,
10.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So as that 12-year-old starts to have, I want to go with my girlfriends out to the mall or go to the movies or go to whatever it is, that she still hears you, whether it is that you're there or not, right? Like dad's still in the back of her head and what it is that she's doing and listening and decisions it is, because she'll have some of her girlfriends that don't have someone like you as a father, it is. And when they're starting to do things, make decisions, say, hey, maybe we should do this or go here and let's sneak out, not go to the movies and let's go do this because we told our parents this. Your daughter will still have that little bug in her that goes, I don't know if I want to do that, or Dad, here's what really happened. And so
Yeah.
as long as your daughter feels safe telling you whatever it is that the truth is, whether it's good or bad, it seems like it is that you have that relationship it is with her. And so I think she's going to be okay and you're going to be okay too.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Right.
I think I'm okay. I think she's going to be okay. I think I think between my wife and I, we were doing a really good job of keeping, really open lines of communication. I don't feel like they don't feel like they can't talk to us about anything. Like literally they just, whatever is coming up, they come home and they talk about it. And I'm involved, not involved, but I know all the little school drama and girls did this and somebody said that. And like, it's not like she's hiding anything, or if she is, it must be bad because she's telling me some crazy stuff that's happening at school. So I feel really.
What you're telling me, what are you not telling me?
Right. Right. So I feel really good, really confident about it, and that's what I'm saying. I'm kind of loosening up a little bit, and like I said, having conversations with guys like yourself who have been in it longer is reassuring, because I can kind of like I started this whole podcast when I was first a father, because I wanted to talk to fathers about their experiences so I can kind of prepare myself. And now as my daughters get older, I'm more interested in hearing what guys who've been in the trenches and survived it have to say about it, and what knowledge I can kind of gain and what ideas I can kind of steal or not use. Like if you say something, I'm like, I don't like that. But at least I know, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
So, you kind of mentioned you have 2 boys, 1 girl, right? Did I hear that correctly?
Yep.
And so older son, daughter, son, is that what it was?
That's right.
Did you find yourself, and this is, I'm just curious because I don't have boys, but like your older son, we talked about parenting them differently, but like, did you find that they were similar enough, older son, younger son, to kind of give them the same version of JB? You know what I mean? Like, obviously the obvious differences because they have different personalities, but like the way that you parent your boys is different than you parent your daughter, or is it the way I parent him is different than the way I parent him, and different than the way I parent, like 3 different versions of you?
It's a great question. And the reality is that our standards and expectations as a family and a household haven't changed. I have changed. My wife has changed. Our environment, circumstances, and life has changed because of where we lived, how we lived, where we were financially, what kind of house or car or disposable income or ability to travel or just life stuff, right? Like my oldest son, right? Like he's the one we probably screwed up the most, maybe, right? Like, I don't know, right? Like your first kid, you're kind of figuring shit out, and so I probably made more mistakes with him. I made different mistakes with my daughter, and I made other different mistakes it is with my younger son. Not because, again, that they needed necessarily different parenting, but I was definitely more strict with my older son. It was a tighter leash, more of a authoritarian rule of, I don't really care what your opinion is. It's black and white, and this is how it is that we do. And he and I's relationship, I mean, we're thick as thieves, super close. But that kind of, there was a period of time to where, not when he was younger, but when he was in that kind of 14 to 16, 14 to 17 years old, to where, like, brother, you inches from death. Like, I'm going to choke you out. Right. Like it's coming, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he got older and bigger and stronger. And I was like, I don't know if I could take him anymore. I got to get in the gym, you know?
Yeah.
And, but that relationship with him changed. With my daughter, like I've never had to spank my daughter. Because just correcting her, she is immediately remorseful, immediately sorry, immediately, okay, what should I have done better? Like, oh,
Hmm.
perfect. And it's like, huh, I've never helped her with her homework. She's always gotten straight at, like, she's great in spite of me.
Yeah.
Like my hands off to her of not having to be heavy and disciplined, not having uh, to really get involved in homework or leading or guiding that way
Hmm.
has worked differently. It is for her. There's different support it is that she needs. She didn't need that. She needs more support on loving and leadership about what am I supposed to do and how am I supposed to show up and what kind of impact am I going to make. And I know Joshua knows that he wants to do this and Tristan knows that he wants to do this. And I don't have any idea what I want to do. And how do I figure that out? And
Hmm.
right. Like, and so her guidance or need for such from me as a father was much different than Joshua's. My younger son, if Red Bull came out with a kids drink, like he'd be the sponsor. Like, dude, I'm telling you, right?
Okay.
But what my older kids have noticed is that our life is different now with him growing up. So again, our standards as a family, our expectations as a family haven't changed, but he has more access to things,
Mm.
right? Because our life has progressed, right? We travel more, we have done a little bit better. We have other things it is that, when my older son, it is when he was growing up, we're shopping at Old Navy and we're shopping at places, right? We're trying to get 2 shirts for one and this kind of
Yeah.
thing. And now my younger son is like, hey, I want 16 essentials hoodie and a new pair of Jordans, right? And my older son's going, this kid's a prick, right? Like if I went to high
Right.
school with him, I would have hated him. And so life changes, right? And
Right.
so again, that's maybe a long way of answering a short question, but your parenting game is going to change a little bit because you as a parent change and kind of grow over time. Life changes and grows over time. That's okay, so long as I don't have a different level of expectation or standards for my son than I do for my daughter. Is this is okay for him, but not okay for you, and this is right, like that part can't change, even though individually they are different. The standards it is that we have for our family and our family's name and our household, this is what it is that they are, right? So
Yeah. I like that. The standard is the standard, right? Like these are the things that we for you would say as a Hill family, these are our family values, right? These are the
right,
things that align for us. These are the things that we are going to uphold. Now, it may look different for you, right? The situation may be different for you, but this is these are our family values. These are the ones you're going to stick to. Your situations will be different. Your personalities will be different, but we're going to love you the way you need to be loved. We're going to take care of you the way you need to be taken care of, but these things are tolerated or not tolerated.
yeah, agreed.
I like that. And that's something that my wife and I, I'm gonna say maybe a couple years ago, we sat down and went through some family values and tried to whittle it down. Because when you look at like the values, if you Google values, there's like 100 of them. Right?
Right.
we worked it down to like 7, and we kind of agreed on some and kind of gave some ideas. And then our daughters were old enough, maybe, but to give them an opportunity to kind of look at it and pick some ones that they liked. And so as a family now, we have 7 family values, and I wish I could remember them and spit them off right now, but I can't.
Yeah.
But it's something that I think is important for everyone to kind of get a hold of. It's like,
Yeah. And
and
I
I
love the
not
fact that you and your wife included your daughters in that, right? Like
yeah
this is not my wife and I saying this is what it is. This is saying this is important to us. What do you guys think? Right? This is
exactly
your family too. Right? Like,
exactly
yeah, I love that.
yeah. I feel like almost like it's a business. You know what I mean? My wife and I are C-level, right? We CEO, CMO, like we're some C something, right? And they're and it depends. They're both employees, but sometimes my older daughter is like middle management, and we like relay something to her, and she can relay it to her sister. Or sometimes they switch.
Sure.
But they are a part of what's going on in this house, and the success or failure of this house is also dependent upon them. So if we don't share the mission statement or the values or things like that with them, and they don't understand it, they can't align to the goals of this house, right? Like my job is to help them become the best version of themselves that they can be, and hopefully that's what they want too.
Yeah.
But if we don't ever talk about it, or we don't figure out like what does that look like together, then my idea may differ from theirs, and then we're just going to butt heads.
Right.
And I think I'm trying to avoid that teenage headbutting as much as I can by one, staying interested in the things that they're interested in, but then two, continuing to have conversations about like, that really doesn't align with the values that you said you wanted for your life, like, so.
Well,
I
I
don't know.
think too, when you include them in that, the times it is that maybe your daughters are together, but mom or dad aren't around, right? Like you guys are at the store and something's going on, or they're at school, or they're at the movies, or they're doing whatever it is that they're doing. If everybody knows what it is that those values are, then your daughters can hold each other accountable,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I love that you're doing that, and that you maybe revisit that once a quarter, once or whatever it is, and have that, after church or whatever it is that you guys sit down and break bread and talk, and talk about what's going on in the family and what's
Yeah.
happening there and how you support each other. I love that. I think that's great.
Yeah, and the fact that I don't know them off the top of my head means we need to sit down with them even more. Like I know a few of them off the top of my head, but not all seven, that's for sure. So we definitely need to get into them a little bit more. You mentioned something there that I think is important, and obviously it's one of what I consider to be the four pillars of fatherhood. You mentioned like after church sitting down. How have you found your faith to kind of guide your leadership and parenting?
Good question. I was raised Christian. My wife was raised Catholic, and has more gravitated towards the Christian church, just because pretty much she doesn't like feeling guilty all the time. Just kidding. Whatever. If you're Catholic, if you're Christian, but our faith has always been at the center of our life. We were married in the church.
Mm-hmm.
But as you get on with life, as you raise kids, as kids' schedules get busy with soccer and baseball and football and volleyball and all the stuff it is that you do, right? It's one of the things I think that we have perverted in the United States is, all of this premier sports, right, has gone crazy. And I did it growing up, and my kids did it growing up, and I'm certainly not casting stones because I'm guilty as anybody listening, but you spend a crap ton of money. It is traveling all over the place. You're gone on the weekends all the time. Wife is over here, husband's over here, kids over here, kids over here. And there's always a game on the weekends, and it always interferes with church.
Yeah.
And I hated that because there is something from the pressures of the week it is that gets slightly relieved when you get to go and get filled with the Spirit on Sunday at church. You just get to go worship, you get to go learn, you get to just kind of fill your soul back up a little bit and get ahead of the week. I think for us, just as in anybody else, we've gone through seasons to where it is that our spiritual life was stronger than others. And I think it is that there was up and down and variations to that as the kids were growing up and their schedules were busy, because we actually unfortunately allowed the demands on their calendar to take priority over our spiritual life. And looking back on it now, that was a mistake. Like our kids grew up and went to private Christian school, and so they got it 5 days a week. So they necessarily, I have Bible class every day at school, right? 5 days a week. I don't know if I want to go on Sundays. Well, my wife was home with the kids. I was working all of the time. And the reality was, it was a great thing that our kids were getting that, but my wife and I weren't getting that, right? And she's leading and nurturing the kids, and I'm supposed to be the protector and provider and provisioner of the family, and I've got to lead everybody. But if I'm not filling my soul, how am I supposed to lead them? And so through those kind of ups and downs, there were seasons that were good and there were seasons that were not great. I should have made that more of a priority as they were growing up, I think it would have created a lot more balance for us. Over the last 5 years or so, spiritual life has been really strong. Over the last probably 2 to 2.5, it's probably been the best that it's ever been. And so I don't remember the last time it is that, I missed a Sunday. Life happens, but I still don't remember the last time I missed a Sunday. And that becomes one of the kind of the core anchors in our schedule for the week, right? Because we now all need it, right? Like as you get older, the demands on your life don't get less, right? And so that kind of cornerstone of our life it is, and making sure it is that we're having time of worship and we're having time of prayer and we're having time to get filled up, has just become critical for us. And so the last 2.5 years, buddy, it's just been fantastic. And that becomes kind of that core tenet for how it is that we make all of our decisions, right? So that part's been fantastic.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it, right? Like I got two girls that play sports, and so my weekends are just as you laid out, right? It's either 4 or 5 hour practices or tournaments or travel or friendlies, whatever, right? There's something every weekend, and I'm trying to navigate, like, because I feel the pull, like we need to be there, right? We got to figure out how to get in there, but like getting in on a Sunday is next to impossible. Totally. You know what I mean? Unless we get rained out, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we scramble and try to get to church. And so I'm trying to figure out how we do that. And so I noticed.
I look back on it now because there was a couple of kids for, the different teams that all the kids were on a period of time. There was a couple kids I remember over the years. And now, I mean, this has been 10, 12, 15 years ago now, but I still remember there was 1 or 2 families that just said, hey man, if there's a game on Sunday, I ain't gonna be there. And you were like, that's weird. They're not committed. But at the same time, you respected it.
Yeah.
Right? That comes back again. It is to, us as fathers. That was a big place where I fell down when my kids were there. I should have set a better example.
Yeah.
And the reality is that there is time for everything. You just got to find the big rocks, right? Like you got to make sure you're doing the important shit first. And so if there's games on Sunday, then you need to figure out a way to go to church on Saturday night or Wednesday night. Or you got to say, okay, great. We're going to do it on Thursday night after practice, whatever it is. And we're going to watch church online. Like most, it's not quite the same, right? Because you want to go and you want to be in the fellowship and the family, and you want to go and sing and worship and get that, that just filled up. You don't get that, going to, myneighborhoodchurch.com or whatever it is, right? But
yeah.
It's something.
Right.
The reality is all of us as dads and fathers, it is you do have to make that a priority. And your kids, as they're growing up, they need that kind of foundation in their life, because there's, like you said, there's going to be times when dad ain't there and they're at the mall with their girlfriends, and you want to make sure it is that they have that kind of foundation it is that's there above and beyond what it is that they're hearing from dad on how they make decisions, how they look at life, how they, good and bad, all those kinds of things, right? So,
right. Yeah. They're kind of like the morals and guiding principles, right? Outside of me and what we say here, there's something like a higher calling. And what I've been doing is like, okay, it's been hard for us to get the whole family. So I'm like, all right, well, I better make sure that I'm at least doing something, whether it be, like you said, watching something on YouTube or something like that while they're at practice. Like, I better make sure that I'm filling myself spiritually, so at least I can pour some into them if we aren't going to be able to make it. But I definitely, like, I'm really, really more and more like feeling I gotta find a way for us to get back connected. And I will, and it's gonna happen, and we're gonna do it really soon. And it's gonna probably be not the non-traditional way. It'll be a Thursday night, or it'll be a Saturday afternoon. It's gonna be something that's not normal, but it will be normal for us, and it'll be our opportunity to fill our spiritual cup and like you said, have that anchor, because I think that's really, really important. The further you get away from it, the harder things become, and definitely need it.
But it's I think this is the thing, just like putting 6 points on the board, right? Like, it's 6 points, whether it is, you ran 90 yards or whether it was something ugly. Like, you don't get extra points for it being pretty. Like, just show up. Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, Saturday, Thursday, online, it doesn't matter, right? Like, you just got to show up. You just got to do it. It ain't got to be pretty. If you don't have your Sunday best and your shit ain't ironed and it's wrinkled and everything else and your hair's all jacked up, show up anyways, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're there for you, right? You're there for you. The other piece I love that you said is that even if my wife and my kids and all that kind of thing, schedules are crazy, this, that, and the other thing, me as a dad, me as a father, it's 10 o'clock at night, the kids are in bed, my wife is asleep.
And isn't that the faith journey? We see it so clearly in John chapter 6. See, faith is being willing to do something you're not able to do. And that's why we have to depend on Jesus. So what Philip does, because he's great and he has a good attention to detail, he says 200 denarii worth of bread wouldn't be enough for people. So he's calculating instead of trusting in God. And God does this. He says, have the people sit down. Have the people sit down. And what God will do in our life is he tests us by saying, hey, I know you may feel like you don't have enough to serve who's in front of you, but still have them sit down so you could depend on me as you serve them. I feel that way every single time I preach. Every single time I do something for God, the inadequacy comes up. And what heals that inadequacy is the word of God, because faith comes by hearing the word of God. So what Jesus is trying to identify in the book of John is that there are so many people that want Jesus' blessings, but they don't want him. So what Jesus is trying to show people in this blessing is that, hey, the blessing only points to me. Now that triggers religious people, because religious people want to depend on their good works to be good enough to get to God.
You know what? I'm going to go get filled real quick. I'm going to go watch something for half an hour, 45 minutes it is, and make sure it is. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, God's going to hold you and me responsible for our families. Right? And so we got to make sure it is that we are doing as much as we can to keep ourselves strong, to keep our own heads right. It is, because if our head isn't right, like, how can we expect it is to be able to lead and love and provide and protect and guide my wife and my children? How can we do that if I'm not, doing my own mental push-ups and making sure I'm strong?
Yeah. I hope. I hear it, right. I hear myself talking. I hear you talking back to me, and it's resonating with me, and I hope that it's resonating with other guys as well. It's like that. I say it, right, the 4 pillars of fatherhood, and I say faith, and then I like, it's just one of the things, and maybe it gets glossed over and we don't talk about it, but it's a huge component. And the reason I say faith is because, as you mentioned, like, you may be Christian, you may be Catholic, you may be, that's not for me to tell you which one you should align with. But whatever it is that you align with, you need to be connected to it, because there is something that is bigger than you that guides you in a way that helps you lead your family in a way that you can be proud of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and if you don't find the opportunities and you don't make the connections, then when things go wrong, I mean, I'm going to be the one that's held accountable at the end of the day. So I better be doing what I can to make sure that I lead in that way as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's never a time. I mean, church is kind of like the gym, right? There's never a period of time it is to where it is that I walk out of church going, I wish I would have stayed home, right? It may be inconvenient, you may be tired, your kid's running late, your daughter's crying, whatever the story is. You show up to church, you go in, you get filled, you sing, you listen to the pastor, you meet some people, have a cup of coffee, you leave, and you're like, man, I'm so glad I went.
Yeah.
Right, man, I needed that. Right? There's never a point in time to where you're like, that sucked. Should have stayed home. Right? Like, no, there's never. Right? Like, there's never that time. Right? So.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I haven't thought about it that way, but I don't think I've ever had a time. And I've had some church sessions where, like, we were there all day, but I complain about being there all day, but I wasn't ever like, oh, that wasn't worth it. It was just like we were there for a long time. Like, whatever needs to happen happened. We were there, but it was all worth it.
Yes, agreed.
And I think, like the gym too, you just got to get started, right? Like when we talk about fitness, like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, and I'm wait till Monday, or wait to this thing until things are perfect and everything lines. Just get in the door. Like, I'm talking to myself now. You guys don't listen. I'm talking to me now. Just get in the door, man. What are you doing? You know what I mean?
You do. I mean, it is. one of the things that is that as I've gotten older, I realize how important your health is. And
Mm-hmm.
I've always been reasonably fit and reasonably strong. But the last 5 years have definitely taken it to a whole nother level on what it is that my expectation and kind of awareness is, both for physical activity and strength, but also too for just what it is that you're putting in your body. Right? Like, I mean, there's just like you go up and down the grocery stores and stuff like this. The food is garbage. It's just garbage. The shit it is that you put in your mouth and that your kids eat, not this garbage, man. And so being really conscious of that. One of the things that is that I heard years ago that really stuck with me is that, everybody's got 100 problems until you have a health problem. And then
Yep.
you only have one problem.
One problem. Yep.
Right. So it's important for all of us to make sure it is that you are doing something every day, whether it's a 15-minute walk, whether it's 20 push-ups before you get in the shower. It doesn't have to be that, you're, trying to be David Goggins and run through the desert at, 100 miles or something, right? It can be anything, but it does need to be something.
Yeah.
Because if you love your wife, if you love your children, if you're trying to make an impact on your community, don't you want to be around? Right. And if I'm conscious of my health and fitness and what it is that I'm doing, that I'm around a longer time, and whether that's to influence my children or to watch my children and my grandchildren grow up, I want to be here a long time for that.
Yeah.
Right. And so because of which I need to take care of myself.
Yep. Yep. And another layer to that is how are you around? Are you around like in a chair, or are you around like in the back room where they, you can't get out, or are you actively at the playground, piggyback rides and, that kind of stuff? Like you have to decide right now in your whatever age you are, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, how you want to show up in your 60s, 70s, 80s. You start planning for that right now, just like you would plan for your retirement. You know what I mean? Like you don't plan for retirement the day you retire. It's too late. You got to start planning decades in advance to set yourself up for the life that you want to have once you get there. And that's a great point. I thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it's there's a guy it is that I see at the gym every once in a while, and he lives on the East Coast, but comes in to see his daughter here in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. And so I see him every couple of months. And Big John, brother's yoked, right? Long hair, beard, handlebar mustache, just tatted, jacked up. I'm pretty strong. I'm like 6'3", 225, trying to get that 1,000-pound club. My son's already kicking my ass there. John is jacked. And 72 and could probably whoop my ass and eat a sandwich at the same time. Right? Right. So you start thinking about that thing of, I'd rather be the oldest guy in the gym than the youngest guy in the nursing home. And so just getting in and lifting weights and moving weights and being active and being fit and, you feel good about yourself. You feel good about yourself when you're strong, when you drop some LBs, when your t-shirts fit a little bit tighter, right? Like all of us want our t-shirts to fit tighter, but like you can do two ways. You can get your ass in the gym and lift and get strong, or you can start buying, boys mediums or something, make your shit look big. Like I wanted to be strong and fit and agile and hostile and not only for the confidence it is that it gives you and the health, but also too, God forbid I'm ever in a scenario. It is like one of my worst fears is that I'm in a situation and I'm not able to protect my wife or my kids. I'm not able to stand up for myself or to stand up for them because of that weakness, because I'm too lazy to get my fat ass off the couch. Like that's horrible, right? Like, so there's guys that are listening that are saying, man, I'm gonna get in the gym on Monday. I'm gonna get in the gym Monday. I'm gonna get in the gym Monday. I'm gonna get in the gym Monday. Okay, it's been 10 years. Your fat ass still isn't in the gym.
Yeah.
You've all been in that situation to where it is that, man, things are a little weird. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. God forbid something happened. What if I couldn't take care of my wife? What if I couldn't protect my kids? What if I couldn't protect somebody it is that I ran into at the store because something weird happened? I don't know if I could live with myself for something like that, for something just as simple as you couldn't get in the gym half an hour a day.
Right.
You couldn't do something to get stronger, to get fitter,
Yeah.
to just, be able to protect and provide. Like you're called to be strong, right? You're called to be strong.
Yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree, man. I 100% agree. Like if I think the thing that gets guys obviously you got to be really connected to your why, right? And why you're doing what you're doing, whether it be going to the gym or just waking up in the morning to go to work, whatever it is, right? But I think a lot of times we get clouded and we forget or lose sight of why we're doing it. And we get really not hyper focused, but we start thinking about ourselves, right? Like,
Sure.
I'm tired, long day of work, don't feel like going to the gym, right? Food tastes good, beers are nice and cold. I'm just, I'm taking care of me, right? I work so hard and I'm just gonna take care of me. And then before you know it, taking care of you is no longer taking care of you, because as you mentioned, now you've got one problem, and that's your health, right? Your doctor is talking about high blood pressure or you're pre-diabetic, or they give you all of these things and you're like, oh man. So then you get serious about fitness and you realize that your life is changing all around you. And it could have been that way all along, but you just got so wrapped up in yourself. And I think that happens far too often. I think it's very easy to do here in America because we have so many quote unquote creature comforts. Like, there's so many things that make life easier for us. Even like we were talking at the beginning of this or right before, my headphones, right? Like, I had some wireless headphones that weren't working. The convenience factor of wireless headphones, they were so nice and they didn't work. Like, it's supposed to make my life easier. They made my life harder. Now I got these on. The sound is beautiful. Like, everything is cool. They're a nice little color. Like, everything works out. It's just, we have to kind of get out of that convenience. I want life. And it's tough, right? Because life has been hard for us. Life has been hard. Every generation, the generation before had a harder life. So our life was harder than our kids, and we're trying to make it easier for them. And we're trying to also at the same time make it easier for us. But the problem with that is that if we want to be around for them, then we got to do the hard stuff. And we got to teach them to do the hard stuff too.
Yeah. I mean, in everything it is that you do, you got to think it is that there's people watching you, right? There's strangers watching you that you don't care about, but your wife's also looking, and your children are also looking at the example it is that you're setting. Your brothers, your sisters, people at church, your neighbors, otherwise, people you don't even know that are watching you. And when you think about that, you can look at it as kind of a burden or a blessing. And I think ultimately, when you look at that, is am I doing things today? It is that, not only make me proud of me, but it would make my kids proud of me. Right. And so, yes, it's easy to just sit there and just say, man, I worked all day. I deserve this pizza, beer, night, sit down, watch the game, do all these other kinds of things. I think a lot of that comes back to, again, ultimately, what are your standards for yourself? And does fitness or health or personal discipline fall into that somewhere? And if it doesn't, that's okay, but that's a determination it is that you're making and reflective in your habits. Right. If you have a standard, however, it is that I want to be healthy, fit, be able to show up. I want to be strong. I want to set an example. I want to do these kinds of things. I want to be in good health and fitness because I want to set the example for my wife and my children. I want to work out with my boys. I want to, at 50 and hopefully 60 years old, still be able to whoop my boys in arm wrestling and, whatever else, right? And, if that's part, then that needs to be reflective in your habits.
Right.
If it's not important to you, I encourage you to maybe revisit that and see why. But, I think most men get to a point to where it is that you are proud of yourself when you do the things it is that you don't want to do. Right? Early on, nobody wants to get up at 4:45 in the morning and hit the gym at 5. So you can be home, done, showered, get the kids off to school and be ready at 7:15. Like, would you rather do that, or would you rather sleep in because I had 3 whiskeys last night and was up with the boys? I'd rather sleep in, but I'm still up at 4:45. Right? And you get to that point to where it is that your commitment and your discipline overshadows your emotions. It overshadows your feeling. It doesn't matter how I feel, because my commitment to doing what it is that I do is more important than my feeling for the day. Because, I'm going to feel 20 different things, 1,000 different things during the day, but that doesn't necessarily change what it is that my commitment is, whether it's showing up for work, going to the gym, loving on my wife, whatever that is. Right. So you gotta, that goes back again, man. You gotta up your game a little bit and start doing shit it is that makes you proud of you and that sets a good example for your wife and kids. Yeah.
The 4 a.m. I get up at 4:15 is when the alarm goes off, and it's a necessity. I don't want to. There's plenty of days where I'm like, man, I should just because I can hit the snooze. Like I worked out yesterday, I could work out tomorrow. Like I'll be fine if
My
I miss
shoulder's
today.
not feeling right. I need a day
Yeah,
off.
right.
Yeah,
In my coaching group, we call that the LBV. It's the little bitch voice. And
yeah.
some mornings, man, he has a megaphone and he's playing music and he's dancing and he's so convincing. But the idea is you tie him up, throw him in the trunk, and take him to the gym with you.
Yeah, I like it.
Like you just got to keep going because you like you said that's a fleeting feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because when I don't go, right, I stay in the bed, I don't go, sleep in or whatever. The whole day is different,
Oh,
right?
totally.
Especially if I'm like, oh, I'm gonna work out later, and now I'm chasing this workout that I know is impossible because my schedule is already planned. Like I
Right.
know it's not realistic unless I do it at like midnight, and that just sucks for the next day.
It
So
does.
like, so you get up early in what they call the dad hours when no one else is dependent on you. Everybody's asleep in their beds, everybody's all tucked in and warm. These are the hours where you can dedicate and commit to yourself, right? And building the man that you want to be, whether that be working out, whether it be reading or, listen to a podcast, meditate, like whatever it is that builds up the man that's going to have to face the day. You better get up. Like, it's like, is it Abraham Lincoln? It was like, if I had an hour to chop down a cherry tree, I'd spend 45 minutes sharpening my axe.
Sharpening my axe. Yep.
Your 45 minutes is at 4 a.m. I'm sorry. That's just what time it comes. Get up and start sharpening that
My 45
axe.
minutes is like 5 a.m., but yours is 4
Yeah,
a.m.
no,
I just got
yeah.
the time change and stuff,
Yeah.
but whatever. Right?
And your kids are older. They're not going to school.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, like that's when that's your time to sharpen your axe. And if you don't get up and get it going, you're behind the 8 ball all day.
Yeah.
Right.
It, brother, what you said is so true. Is that every man has got to have your own time.
Mm-hmm.
It is, you got to understand sometimes it is okay to be selfish, because if you are not, again, kind of sharpening your axe, getting that little time of reprieve and focus and calm, whether it's at 4 o'clock in the morning before everybody gets up or 10 or 11 at night after everybody goes to bed, you've got to have that time it is to kind of focus and concentrate your thoughts, to let your mind calm, right? Like it becomes that almost like time in the shower, right? To where like the external stimulus is gone. You don't have phones and rings and dings and pings and all the other kind of stuff happening,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when you don't have that stimulus is gone and your brain can kind of relax. And when it relaxes, it makes room for your brain to get creative, to either think about things that are going on in your life, to either solve problems, to think about what it is that you want to do, to create, to do one thing or another. You've got to have that time for yourself. I find it is that when I allow myself to have that time more often, I can show up better for my wife and kids, right?
Yeah.
And when I'm not finding that time, I'm a little bit shorter. I'm maybe not as on point. I'm maybe a little distracted, right? And so it's really important that you find that time, whether it's early morning, at night, whatever it is, to get that time to where you can allow your mind to relax a little bit, to kind of sharpen your axe, get your thoughts together, get a little bit of calm. It'll help you show up better.
Yeah. Yeah. I we're on the same page, man. I'm not arguing with you at all. JB, we talked about a lot, right? Obviously it's fatherhood, but we've been talking about family the whole time. We talked about faith. We just finished talking about fitness. I understand you're in the financial space. So let's spend, I don't want to act like finances aren't important, right? If you got kids, kids cost money, right? And so while I lean into faith and I lean into fitness, because those are the things that seem to be the easiest to neglect when things get crazy and we focus hard on providing, and that's where kind of finance lays. I don't want to act in this conversation as if that doesn't exist. So, and I know that's something that you've made a career, kind of working in that field. So finance for fathers. Well, let me go all the way back, right? We talked about, when people ask you what you do or who you are, you talk about what you do. So we leaned into who you are. Let's talk a little bit about what it is that you do.
Sure. So I started a company almost 25 years ago called JB Capital. I am the J and the B. Again, like I wish it stood for James Bond. I think that'd be cool, but it's JB. It's me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We started as a lower middle market investment bank, and so what that means is we get hired to solve problems, and most of those problems have something to do with money, right? So Rod and Joe from Rod's software company or construction company, healthcare business, whatever it is, they would typically hire us. It is to go source, find, and place capital for them because they want to grow. They want to get their next product out. They want to buy the competitor across the street, open a new office, do whatever they want to do. And your bank and your rich uncle won't call you back. And so now you're stuck talking to me, right? So we typically raise money for them. So been doing that for 25 years. We've done about 2.1 billion or so in transaction and advisory work, all for these kind of small companies that, kind of $5 to $50 million check sizes. Love it. Just candidly really enjoy it. Started a few funds of our own, which was investing off of my balance sheet, and then raising funds alongside that. So we have 3 funds in the market to where we're investing directly. Those funds are now kind of winding up over this next kind of 3 or 4 months here. And then we'll kind of decide what the next path is. But have spent the last basically 25 years kind of architecting and bringing capital together for everything from large construction projects to housing developments to growing software and technology and healthcare businesses, to bottled water companies, to consumer products companies, to all that kind of stuff, right? And so it's been pretty cool to work with those guys and put those deals together and meet a lot of people, make a little bit of money, and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, man. Wow. 2 billion. That you've been doing some work.
Yeah.
And then you said 5 to 50 million, like that was like a little number. That 50 million checks, like those are big numbers, man.
It's interesting because I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they're like, man, 2 billion seems like a lot. And it's interesting because just no matter who you are, right? Like it's either that's an inordinate amount of money, and then you talk to somebody else and that's just getting started, right? So we all have a different perspective, right? For us, like I feel like we've done a lot, but I also don't feel like it is that we've scratched the surface on what it is that we're capable of or what it is that I should have done, right? And I don't think that is I'm not good enough, beat me up. Somebody's always better than me, but I just feel like it is that, I feel like I should be an exit or 2 further down the road,
Got you. Yeah. Well, I think, what's funny is I feel like a lot of us feel that way. Like we should be an exit or 2 further down the road. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like when it's always easier to look back at it and be like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have done that, or like if I would have made this move, because now right, there's more information that's presented itself, and I could have, man, I should have said yes to that job, or I try to live my life where I'm like, whatever decision I made is the decision that was exactly the one I was supposed to make, and so I let it go, right? And I think about it. Doesn't mean that I don't go back and forth and like, oh man, what if I would have stayed with the Mets, right? Like, because that situation, I don't know. I don't think it would have made my life the way that it is now, and I completely love exactly where I'm at. But I think it would have changed the trajectory of the dollars that were behind my name.
It's interesting because there's 2 pieces to that. So I love one of the things that Tony Robbins says is that life is happening to you. It's not happening, or life is happening for you. It's not happening to you, right? Mm-hmm. Tony Robbins and Ed Milet, I kind of both say that, right? Is that we all think it is, like you said, no matter where it is that you are on the road, you feel like you should be an exit or 2 ahead. Mm-hmm. And, you look at guys ahead of you, it is that you're like, man, that guy did that. Man, I know I'm smarter than that guy. Or, man, I don't even, that guy's dumb. Or whatever the situation is, you feel like, shit, man, I know that I should be there. And it's just, you don't know what God has for you. But I do know the fact that is that whatever God's plan it is that he has for me is perfect for me.
Yes.
The plan it is that he has for me. Even if you and I are on the same road doing the same thing, we're building the exact same kind of business, so on and so forth. You and I are going to be at different spots on the road. And God's plan for you is perfect for you, and his for me is perfect for me. Mm-hmm. And they may be 5 exits apart, or we might be right together. Who knows, right? I like that perspective. I also like a friend of mine, Gary V, right? Like one of the things that he talks about is that he missed Uber like 2 or 3 times. Right. Mm-hmm. And that missing an early investment in Uber, he said the valuation of that for him would have been about $400 million.
Wow.
For his personal net worth for missing that investment that he said no twice to one of his dearest friends. And he goes, I can ruminate on that and be like, God, I can't believe it is that I missed that. But he goes, but what if I did do that?
Mm-hmm.
And because I did that, I had to go to a conference, and I went to that conference somewhere, and fucking, I died, or I was in a plane crash, or I was in any of these kinds of things, right? Like, you just, whatever the plans for you are perfect for you.
Yep.
Right. And so it's not to necessarily second guess that, but it's to understand it as that God is working for you. He's not working against you, and that your plan is perfect going forward. So just kind of embrace those green lights going forward, and things are going to be all right.
You know what's funny is as you're saying that, I'm thinking about when I wanted to segue into the financial piece. I didn't know exactly where it was going to go, but I did it anyway. And what you just said, I feel like was the reason, like, because that line, that last paragraph of things that you said was like that. If no one catches anything else from this episode of the podcast, that right there is the message that I think every guy can take. And no matter where you are along your journey, just knowing that you are exactly where you're supposed to be, because God has a plan for you.
Yeah.
Whether you have a plan that you think it should be going this way or that, that's cool. Like, you work on whatever it is that you think you need to work on, because that's also some idea that God has given you. But there is a journey, there's a path that you are on, and it was set out before you. And you're exactly where you're supposed to be, even if you don't feel like it, right? Yeah. Even if you feel like you should be a few exits ahead, if you feel like maybe you should have done something differently along the way, you would not be where you are if you weren't supposed to be.
Amen.
However unfortunate or however successful that might be, like, it's a part of the journey.
Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
Yeah. All right, man. So listen, I got a couple questions for you. I typically, I save these for the end, and we've had a lot of conversation, and so hopefully you've had a chance to think about what you want to answer here. And if not, that's fine. I'll catch you on the fly, right? Okay. If you had a plan for what you're going to say, what it doesn't matter, because God had a plan for what you got to answer right now. If again, we've talked about a whole lot. Obviously, it's a fatherhood podcast, so we have to talk about fatherhood. And so my question to you is what does fatherhood mean to you?
I think fatherhood, it is for me in my circumstance. I think everybody's is different. Fatherhood for me means the opportunity it is to either create or to change a legacy. Everybody has a history, right? You and I as dads are either operating from this kind of plan of, I grew up and here's what it is that I saw, and I want to either do exactly that and maybe better, or I want to do the exact opposite of that. And I think for me and my family dynamic, it is that I wanted to ultimately try to do my best. It is to become the man it is that I wish that I had when I was a kid. And I kind of fight for that every day. It is to make sure it is that, I'm showing up and I'm being that person it is for my two boys and my daughter. It is that I wish I had when I was growing up. So.
I like that. I had another question for you. If somehow we did this thing right and we marketed it exactly the way it was supposed to, and we got billions of people to listen right now, but those billions of people were just fathers, what is the message that you want them to hear?
No pressure. Jeez. Assuming 1 billion people are listening, right? What is the message? You showing up counts, how you show up in the example it is that you set, even when nobody's looking. It matters. It matters.
All right. So now, depending on how you look at this, I'm either going to up the pressure or I'm going to relieve some of the pressure. We
talk offline, brother. I'm telling you.
Listen, we worked super hard. The marketing was spot on. We got exactly who we wanted to listen to this episode, but it was only 3 people, and those are your children. What do you want them to hear?
I love you.
Nah, see, no pressure. Look at that. It just came right out. See, I got your back, man. I wasn't going to set you up.
Okay, good.
Oh, man. Listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to. I said this at the beginning, but I sincerely appreciate it. I know again how busy life gets. I know how our schedules are. I know we're being pulled in a bunch of different directions, and recording a podcast to help out some dudes that you don't know is not always at the top of the list, right? But I think it's so important. I think the world can only change if it starts with us. I think things only get better if it starts with the leaders, if it starts with fathers. And so I appreciate you taking the time to share your experience, to share your knowledge, to share your story with us, with me personally, because I'm gonna be selfishly using stuff, but for the guys as well that are listening, people on social media who will see the clips, thank you dearly for taking the time. If they are wanting to reach out to you, if guys are wanting to connect with you, if they just want to say, hey, thank you for the podcast, like, shoot you a virtual high five, what is the best way that they could do that?
Thanks for asking, buddy. So pretty easy to find. So it's Jeremy B. Hill, or the Jeremy B. Hill, across any social, whether it's Instagram, TikTok. Personal webpage is the Jeremy B. Hill, or you can find us on LinkedIn. Pretty easy. But yeah, reach out anytime if there's anything we can do to help. Love to connect with you.
Awesome. So fellas, make sure you do that. If you're driving and listening to the podcast, now is not the time to do that, right? If you want to get home, safely. But when you do get home, it'll be in the show notes. And obviously we just mentioned it now, and it's pretty straightforward. It's not like, Gen C X5239, it's not something.
Hashtag.
Yeah. Right. Like I'm always blown away when people have like these ads that are so complicated. I'm like, man, how do you expect anybody to find you? Like, but that's pretty straightforward. The Jeremy B. Hill on all social media. Awesome, brother. Thank you again for joining us.
I enjoyed it, man. Great conversation. Good to see you.
All right, man. Have a good one. Fellas, that was Jeremy B. Hill, man. And I don't know about you, but I'm walking away with some gems. If this episode hit home for you, make sure to share it with another dad in your circle who needs to hear this message. Don't forget to leave a rating and a review. It helps more men find conversations like this. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to go deeper in your own journey as a father, head to forfeitfatherhood.com and join the community. Until next time, be present, be fit, be faithful. Peace.